What about today? Today is Wednesday. On Wednesday, we say Hayom Yom Vi, and we say a very specific chapter of Tehillim. In other words, in the Beis Hamikdash, every Wednesday, the Leviim would sing this chapter. So if you have a siddur near you, and you take a look at the chapter, this is exactly what it's about. It starts off, you wicked people, how long will you continue to do your wicked things? And then it says as follows, they say Hashem doesn't see. They say that Hashem doesn't understand. So King David says to them, David HaMelech, how foolish are you? How foolish can you be? If God created hearing, so he doesn't hear. If God created vision, you think he doesn't see. So who is David HaMelech talking to? Literal fools? David HaMelech wouldn't spend his time to answer people that are not normal. Thank you very much. David HaMelech is talking to the philosophical people, the people who are philosophers, non-Jews, and this is their argument that Hashem doesn't see, Hashem doesn't hear, Hashem doesn't pay attention. Why? Because he's so high, because he's so great, and because he's so infinite, therefore he doesn't pay attention. And David HaMelech says that, on the contrary, that Hashem sees everything and hears everything, because he's so infinite that it really makes no difference to him whether it's the lowest thing, the highest thing, it's all the same. And just like you agree and you admit that Hashem is leading things up in the spiritual realm, in the same way he's leading things in the physical realm, because to him it makes no difference. Okay. So now that we have these booklets, yeah, everybody take a booklet. There's more. The only thing we don't have here is page numbers. It's okay. It's always something to make it a little bit challenging. Yes. Today is also the day that we say hello. So it's another thing that's part of the Maimah. And that is what we did yesterday. From Tehillim, chapter 113. So there's no page numbers here, sorry. But if you move along, it's more or less in the middle of this booklet. You have the chapter from where it says like this. On top it should say Tehillim 113. And it brings the pasuk of today's Tehillim, which we say in Hallow. Rama kol goyim Hashem. Hashem is high over all the nations. His glory is upon the heavens. In other words, they're saying his glory is up there, but he's not involved with down here. And we answer, Mi Hashem Elokeinu, who is like our God? Hamakbil Hashem, he dwells on high, and he lowers himself to look in the heavens and the earth. In other words, for him to look at the heaven and the earth is both the same equally, because he's infinite, and therefore the heaven and earth are both the same to him, and it doesn't make any difference. Okay, so now we're going back to page 29. This is also the mistake that Paro made. Paro believed in Hashem as the creator, and Paro believed in Hashem as being who he is, infinite, and created a world. But what he didn't believe was that, therefore, he's not involved with this physical world. So who is involved? The constellations, the different forces and powers up there, they are the ones who are in charge of what's going on here in this world. And therefore, he believed that just like until now, they gave him permission to keep the Jews as slaves. Don't tell me God said this, God said that. I don't believe that, and I don't accept that it has anything to do with what's going on down here. So now let's see this inside, page 37. And this is what Moshe said when he brought the plagues upon Egypt. He said these words, Leman Teda, this is in order for you to know, She'ein kamoini b'chol ha'aretz. There's no one like me on this earth. I'm just surprised that in the English, they translated no one like me in the whole world. Really, the whole point here is b'chol ha'aretz dafka, not just the whole world, means on the earth. Hashem, Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, there's no one like me, not only up there, but down here, I'm the one who runs everything up there and everything down here. And we find the same emphasis in another place where Hashem brought the place, and it says, Leman Saper Shmi, that the purpose is in order for you to, to say my name, to relate my name, B'chalaretz, in the whole earth. Everyone should know that Hashem is the one that defeated the Egyptians. The reason why this is emphasized is in order to take away the mistake that they made, which is Azav Hashem that Hashem abandoned the earth, and it allows the earth to be run by the constellations. And Hashem has no part in it, only the constellations run it. Hashem says, I don't get involved. Now the constellations, that's the order of nature. They do things in the natural order. So when Hashem performed these miracles and did things that the constellations don't really have the power to do, then it was clear there's something higher than constellations and higher than these angels that are making things happen the way they happen. Because the angels, the constellations, all these spiritual forces, they are limited in what they can do, what they can do. They're the source of all the natural laws. And when you see something happening which is supernatural, clearly that's coming from a higher source. So what is the truth? The truth is that Hashem says there is no one that's in my way, no one that's challenging me here on earth. That anyone could stand in my way to change the order of nature here on earth. That things should happen on earth which are totally define nature. Which this is the true faith of Yidden, that they believe, and they know, as they received it from Moshe, who heard it from Hashem. And these are the words that are in the Torah. We also say this in davening every day. It's in Aleinu. And you should know today, and you should take this to heart. What should you know? What should you take to heart? That Hashem and Elokim is all one. On the heavens above, and on the earth below. There is nothing else. In other words, that Hashem, remember we said before that Paro said, I don't know Havaya, which means the name Elokim I recognize. Elokim is a name, and that alludes to Hashem, the way he's related to the laws of nature and runs the world in the natural order. In fact, what's often brought down in Chassidus is that the actual word, Ha-Teva, which means the nature, is the same gematria, the same numerical value as the name Elokim, because that's the name of Hashem through which Hashem makes things happen in the natural order. So even though Hashem set up a system which is called nature, and this is run by the constellations and the angels and all that, but in essence, it's really all Hashem, and it's only going through these channels, and not shown that they're separate. So we say Havaya Hu Elokim. How do we translate those words? God is God. Well, what else? Yasel is Yasel, and Chana is Chana. What are we saying here? We're saying that the name Havaya, which is Hashem as he is infinite, above nature, out of this world, and the name Elokim, which is Hashem, Hashem's name, which is related to nature, it's all one. It's not two separate things. Then Hashem allow the existence of another entity that makes things happen. It's all him, but he's doing it through the right hand or the left hand, like we said yesterday. Want to say something? Want to think something? Okay. The actual translation in the Hebrew word Elokim, the word Elokim really is Lashon Koyach v'Yechelis. It means might and power. That's what the word Elokim means. In fact, we find words that have the same roots, and it's not a reference to Hashem. For example, there's a pasuk that's Elei Ha'aretz, which means the mighty ones of the land. If you look at the word Elei, it's spelled like Elokim. Elokim Yana Eshleim Parid. That Hashem will answer, will Paro, and Hashem will give Paro peace. But he used the name of Elokim because Paro related to Elokim. She'ena shelefi daitei she'akoyach hamashpir lo yana shleima. But the truth is that no, Havaya hu Elokim, Havaya and Elokim is all one, which means shekol koichaselu. The word Elokim means power and might, which means these are things that Hashem put into existence, that the world should be led by them and run by them. All these powers and all these forces, it's all Hashem himself. And there's a pasuk in Chumash, in the Chumash Devarim, where it says there are people who are very successful and they're very wealthy, and unfortunately they attribute it to themselves, that the reason why they have so much wealth is because they did all the right things and they knew what to do and how to invest and to buy and to sell. But the truth is, no, it's Hashem who gave you the power to be able to succeed and achieve the things that you achieve. Which means that even if I did do the right things that's supposed to be done in business, and as a result of that I made money, but that's all Hashem sort of orchestrated, that you should meet this person and this customer should come to you and this should open and that should close, and therefore you were able to make the money that you made. So therefore it's only going through those channels, but it's all Hashem involved in every single detail. Hashem is supervising everything, not in general, but very specific. All I'll call Darkei B'nai Adam, in all the ways of a person. Hashem gives everybody everything according to their actions and according to what they deserve and according to what they've earned by the way they conduct themselves. And this is done either hasarim, through the ministering angels. Turn to page 41. And all the forces and the powers, shemashbiyim, but they're all kegarzan biyad ha'chaytzah. That's the term that I was telling you about. It's kegarzan, it's like the axe in the hands of the wood chopper. That no credit is given to the axe, but the wood chopper is the one who gets the credit. He's the one who has the talent, and the tools are just tools. Now the words in the pasuk was v'yadaita, you would know today, ki havaya hu Elokim, havaya and Elokim are one, in the heavens above, the earth below, and then it says ein earth, there's nothing else. What does that add? What are those words add? Ein earth. You already said it's havaya and Elokim is all one. That means all the forces that are doing things in this world are really not doing anything independently. It's all havaya. It's all Hashem, who is infinite, is just as much involved. Why do we add the words ein earth? So now he's going to explain that. This is what it means when it says, "B'shamayim mimal," in the heavens above, u'baretz mitachas, and on the earth below, ein oid. There's nothing else. Pirush, what does that mean? K'mei b'shamayim mimal, just like in the heavens above. Gam lefi divreichem, even according to your opinion, meaning those who don't believe, like Para and others who don't believe that Hashem is involved in what goes on in this world, but they do believe that he's involved in something spiritual. So you believe that Shem up there, Mishkan Kvedei, that's where Hashem dwells, and over there Hashem runs everything and is involved in everything. Because again, they do believe that God created the world, but they believe that for God, who is infinite, he's involved with the spiritual realm. Kain Gambar is mitachas, the same as down here, Ein Oid Klal. There's nothing else besides Hashem, which means that power and that angel or that constellation that makes things happen in this world, for example, Matat. The Gemara says, of course, we know that there are infinite angels, and we know a few names like Gabriel, Michael. Soon we're going to learn about it in the Parsha of Vayera. But one of the angels are called Matat. What is his function? He's called Sar Shalom. He's the minister of the entire universe, which means he has ministers under him doing this, that, and the other thing, but he's a general manager in charge of everything else. Eine nechshev klal, but he has absolutely no significance whatsoever. Afilu b'chinas oid, we can't even refer to him as something in addition. In other words, maybe, okay, Hashem is running everything, and he's running it through this, but he's a little bit involved. There's no, Einoid means nothing involved. And this mimer doesn't explain it, but there's another mimer, other mimarim, where they give another example. There's an expression in Gemara that when you go to a party, the drink, the wine, belongs to the owner, but you give the thank you to the waiter. What does that mean? It means the waiter comes to you and brings you wine, and the same would be brings you a plate with all the food. So whose is it? Why are you saying thank you to him? It's not his. He's not the owner here. He's not the one that spent the money. He's not the one that organized the party. Someone else did that. He's just a waiter. Why do you say thank you? And you even give him a tip. Why do we do that?
Because he's down here.
What?
He's down here.
Right. So even though he's not the owner, it doesn't belong to him, but he's serving me. So first of all, you can serve in a nice way and you can serve in a nasty way. Second of all, you can bring me the food sooner, you can bring me the food later. Third of all, you can put down the soup very nicely or spill it all over me. There's a lot of things that can happen with the waiter. So I'm saying thank you for his part in it. So perhaps Hashem is also the same thing. He runs the world completely, everything. The constellations and the laws of nature and the ministering angels, they have a little input, like the waiter. Einoid means there's nothing else. They have no input whatsoever. It's like saying that the hatchet, the axe, does it have any input in what I do? Yes, it's the tool that I'm using. But in terms of input, what should happen, how it should happen, where I should be chopping first or where I should be chopping, all these decisions are made by the person, not by the tool. Yeah.
And what if someone like believes in these things, like
In which things? Gula?
but
Which word did you use?
no, yeah, like I don't know, knocking on the board or the constellation. What if someone gives them power? Is that works that way or it doesn't matter?
Generally speaking, it depends which things. When you use the word segula, there are segulas which are in Torah. But that would mean that Hashem, somewhere in the Torah, says that if you do this and this, it'll bring a certain bracha. But if you talk about things that are, whether it's knocking wood or other, I'm not sure, but some of these things, their origin is not from Torah. And it's connected to constellations and things like that. So, no, it doesn't do anything for the person. Again, it's a broad subject, and we'll learn more my morning. I'll go more into it, but let's leave it over here now, because otherwise we'll go off on a detour. We'll end up in Honolulu. So this is just like the axe. Just like the axe is something which doesn't add anything, doesn't contribute anything to the decision and the talent of the person who's using the axe. The axe doesn't have any choice in the matter what to do, how to do. It's the person that uses the axe the way he desires. All the choices, and everything that needs to be done, Oibuperatius and all the details, the tiras yosei, to chop here, to chop there, to use it this way, to use all this, who makes all these decisions is the Uman, is the wood chopper. Based on his knowledge and based on his talent. So therefore, we can say that the axe or the tools don't add and don't contribute even one iota to what's happening. So the same with Hashem, with the angels and the constellations. Yeah.
Okay, so clarifying it, simply talking about angels and constellations as gods. Because I'm thinking of humans, there's still nothing else, but we do have authority and make decisions and make act on thinking. But to clarify, we're talking about seeing these things as gods.
Right. Humans have choices. Hashem gave us free choice. That's part of what the whole purpose of creation is, creating humans who have free choice. So yes, we do have the ability to make the free choice. Naturally, even that doesn't mean chas v'shalom that Hashem is. It's like Hashem has not involved in what's happening. He's involved in what's happening in that also, which means even if I make a choice, again, I don't want to get lost, but it is part of the subject here. But for example, one of the things we'll be learning is where it says in Tanya. Maybe some of you remember it because we just learned about it, and that is it's chapter 25 in Igeres HaKodesh. We just had it in Chitas. Why is it that if a person loses their temper and gets angry when somebody hurts them, why is it equivalent to idol worship?
They're thinking that didn't come from Hashem, right? That happened with them.
So the Alter Rebbe says, but wait a second, that person has free choice, so it does come from them. The Alter Rebbe said, you want to say something? Yeah.
It's like whatever was going to happen to them was going to happen to them either way. But when someone like chooses to act on it, then like it's kind of their fault. Like it's still coming from Hashem. Like it's going to happen.
Right. In other words, what happens to me, if it wasn't destined to happen to me, even if that person makes bad choices, I wouldn't be getting hurt. So if somebody steals money from another person, so the one who stole the money, he made the choices, and he would have to pay a price for making those choices. That's true. But I have to say, if Hashem, if this happened, it must be that it was destined by Hashem that I should lose money. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. Which means even if he would have made the choice, he never would have succeeded in taking away the money from me. So therefore, it's equivalent to, it's not outright idol worship, but it means I'm lacking the true faith that every little detail that happens is from Hashem. Then he asks another question. Masha Kosov, there's a quote where it says, Ein umam b'lo kelim. There is no craftsman without tools. The most talented person can't do things without tools. Doesn't that imply that the tools do play a very important part? So he says, again, the same thing. Ein hakavana, the meaning of that statement is not liyaches etzem asiyas uman lakli. It doesn't mean that we're going to attribute the results to the tools to some degree. And who gets credit for this? The person and the tools. It means below yakli, without the tools, I have a certain talent. That talent is within me and a potential. Let's say an artist. The talent of art is in me before I draw the picture. I have the talent, but it's something in me which is in a potential state. When I take a brush or I take a piece of canvas and I make a beautiful picture on the canvas with the brush, what just happened now was that my talent, that was quick. Welcome back. Thank you. That means that the talent that I have, the potential that I have, in this case, the potential for art or the potential for music, or for playing music, for singing, whatever it is, that potential was now transformed from its potential state to an actual state. And that's where the axe or or the tools come into the picture, just allowing the potential to come out. But what happens is completely and totally attributed to my potential, nothing else. The same applies to all the details of creation, the inanimate, the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, the human kingdom. Every detail is being run and led by Hashem. Page 41, 43. And although sheyesh l'chol min b'chlal, or l'chol echad v'echad b'prat, hamin hahi b'prat, koyach v'chayis prati. Even though every single category in creation has a different kind of an energy that gives it life. The energy that gives life to animals is different than the energy that gives life to plants. And the energy that gives life to plants is different than the energy that gives life to things that are inanimate, and different than things that give life to humans. And not only that, but in each category itself, each detail has a different energy. So the energy that gives life to a lion and a bird and a bear and the whole world of the animal kingdom, insects, everything is a different kind of an energy. Even though it's you can almost say infinite, nevertheless, it doesn't mean that there's something here in addition to Hashem. This is all Hashem. The reason why this is so important is, why he has to explain this, is of course one of the basic principles of belief is what we say every single day. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, Hashem is one, right? So therefore, when we see multiplicity, we see a lot of things in this world, not only a lot, but infinite different differences. That's not the oneness that we talk about in Hashem. So we're saying even this, that there are differences, because they're different energies, that's still Hashem's essence, and he's just manifesting his essence in many different ways, but it's still him doing all the different functions, even though they're different. And he brings from this source, there's a pasuk where it says, Ki Havaya hu Elokim. We just finished saying that Hashem and Elokim is one. Havaya hu Lashon hu Elokim. The word Elokim is Lashon Rabin, is plural. He makes reference here to a Rashi in Chumash, where it says the only name of Hashem that could be used in plural context is Elokim. Now, why would Hashem's name be used in plural context if Hashem is one? And this is the answer, because Elokim is referring to and alluding to Hashem manifesting his light in multiple different ways in order to give life to all the multiple different things that exist in the world. But not that he himself is plural. This is very famous. Initially, when Kabbalah came out, just like when Chassidus came out, there was a lot of opposition. When Kabbalah, which was always there, but it was hidden and only very few people studied it. And then when it started to come out more in the open, some of even the great Torah scholars were like very against it, because they didn't know this and they didn't understand it. But like one of the criticisms that I saw in one of the books, he writes that the Kabbalists, they talk about 10 spheres. And he says, God forbid, now we know and understand it so much different. But he says, God forbid, the non-Jews, they talk about 3, and now these people are talking about 10. Chas v'shalom. So what does it mean when we say 10 spheres? Not that God is made up of 10 powers. God is not made up of anything. He's infinite. It just means that his infinite light manifests in 10 different ways. It's all what we refer to as the light of Hashem. And because he's infinite, he has the ability to do whatever he wants. He can manifest his light this way, he can manifest his light that way. One of the sources of this is in Gemara, a famous story in Gemara, where a heretic asked Rabbi Gamliel and said to him, how many gods do you have? He said, why are you talking that way? He says, because it says in the Torah that wherever 10 Jews get together, God is there. There's so many shuls and so many places we have 10 Jews getting together. So how many gods do you have? So this was his answer. He said to him, does the sun shine in your home? Yes. Does it shine in other people's home? How many suns are there? So he said there's one sun, but the sunlight shines in all the different places. And that's the same here. Hashem is one, but his light shines wherever there are 10 people, which means there's certain places where Hashem allows his light to manifest. And not only that, there are places, also different ways that he allows his light to be manifest. Because Hashem wanted to create a finite world, and this finite world should have all sorts of million and billion different things existing. He made his light manifest in a million different ways, but it's all him doing everything. All these multiple powers, and all the details, that they were all created when Hashem first created the world. Nothing existed before. So there's so many different kinds of species in the world. And then in each kind itself, this Prati Rabis Nevroim, there's different species in the Daimon, in the Tzemeach, in the Chai, in the Medaber, in all the 4 kingdoms. Hakel hu Havaya Mahava Isam B'Tchilas B'Riyasam. It's all from Hashem, who created this in the beginning, and everything is the same. Nothing was added to Hashem, Chas v'Sholem. Hashem has no assistants that are helping him out. It's all one Hashem, and he's running everything. He just made it look. Our perception is as if there's some other force that's involved. So what's our avodah? Our avodah is not to be misled by this perception and to recognize that really it's all Hashem. So of course, when it comes down to, like we gave the example with anger, but really it's not just anger, it's like all day long, everything we do, some things work out, some things don't work out, we get upset, we get sad. All this comes from not recognizing that Hashem is really running it, and there's a reason and there's a purpose. And if we'd be totally, completely super conscious about it, we'd also be super calm. Yeah.
Love that. And then question. So it's saying that every person has their own angel you play the breaths. I'm hearing that I get it all comes from Hashem, but if Hashem has no assistance, what's even the purpose of an angel?
What's the purpose of the angel?
If there's no,
The purpose of the angels, and it's like asking me a question, if Hashem is the one who's giving me my sustenance, what's the purpose of me going to work? And some people actually go by that philosophy. They don't go to work. Say, if Hashem wants to give me money, he'll find a way to do it. And the answer is, which it's a long thing again. Sorry, I always keep repeating myself, but that fortunately that's the way it is. And the reason for the angel and the reason for the constellation, the reason for all these things is to conceal Hashem's light, that we should see the world the way it should be, the physical world that he wants. And we, through our work, should reveal his presence here. That's the purpose. Like going to a doctor, right? But in fact, that's why it says that if a person, for example, needs a certain amount of parnasa, he needs to feed his family, he needs to earn $1,000 a week. And then he says, well, everything's from Hashem. I know I have to go to work also. He'll get a job that pays $50 a week. And he'll say, listen, Hashem is really the source. The work is only a channel. So I'm going to work and Hashem will make it happen. No, the channel, if that would happen, it's not a proper channel. The definition of a channel is something that happens that makes us perceive as if it's happening without Hashem. That's the definition of a channel. Why is that? Because Hashem wants us to turn things around and to reveal that it's really not a concealment, it's really Hashem himself. So if I go to a doctor, it's the same thing. You have to go to a good doctor, you have to go to a specialist in this field. So if you have a problem with your ear, nose, and throat, you don't go to a podiatrist, you go to the doctor that's supposed to deal with this issue. And he's a good doctor. And therefore, it conceals, it looks as if it's all about the doctor. But really, it's all Hashem. So we give tzedakah, we say Mishaberach, we say Tillim, and we go to the doctor. So this is the term that we always use when we're talking. We say, oh, Hashgacha Prati, Hashgacha Prati. But if you think about it, what we're really saying is that what's happening in the world is Hashem the word pratis means detail. Every detail is hashgacha pratis. So if I catch the train or I miss the train, it's hashgacha pratis. Doesn't mean that every time I miss the train, something later is going to happen with the train. Oh, that's why I missed it. You don't know why. It could be many different reasons, and with an infinite thing that only Hashem Himself knows. But that's behind all these things. When it comes to making a choice, these are Torah mitzvahs. That's supposed to be my choice. But again, the most basic question that people ask: if everything that's hashgacha pratis, so therefore, why? So why worry about choices? Just everything's Hashem, so He'll take care. He'll make things happen the way it's supposed to happen. So the answer is, and in fact, you mentioned before about a doctor. The person says, "Listen, I have this cold. It says hashgacha pratis. Am I going to go now challenge Hashem by going to a doctor and take away the cold that He gave me?" So the answer is no. Hashem says in the Torah you should go to a doctor. It's actually a pasuk which says you go to a doctor. You should go look for a job, which means just try to remember this principle. It'll help answer a lot of questions. That hashgacha pratis is a principle that we apply only to the past. If something happened already, then I say the fact that this happened is an indication that Hashem wanted it to happen. But if something didn't happen yet and I have to make a choice, then I can't say hashgacha pratis. How do you know what Hashem wants? I have to look and see, according to Torah, what choices that Hashem want me to make. And the answer is He wanted to make choices that'll be good for me spiritually, good for me physically, and do the right things. And therefore, the principle of hashgacha pratis is only after something had happened. I can say that. I can't say I'm going to take this person's money and it must be hashgacha pratis, otherwise I wouldn't be able to do it. So it's okay for me to do it. We're going to learn something in a mimer tomorrow, which I'll be giving it out to you, where it describes what to what extent hashgacha pratis is. In other words, how every single detail of what goes on in our life, how Hashem is involved in it, and He's the reason and the cause why it happens the way it happens. To be continued. Okay.
Understand these things that because like I remember the brachos are like upstairs, and then when that like comes out. So I just rather than a few things like in my family we really like have these things like sometimes they say that like I don't know like sitting in the corner, what I mean, but for 7 years they're not getting married.
Right.